Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Last time we introduced reflex action and then its classification. Today about the properties of reflex action. Properties of reflex action. Keep in mind that in the reflex arc of the reflexes, one or more than one synapses are present. Right? So in the reflex arc of the reflex action, one or more than one synapse is present. So properties of reflex action are mostly the properties of synaptic transmission. So keep in mind, properties of reflex action are mostly the properties of synaptic transmission. The first property of reflex action is synaptic delay or central delay. Synaptic delay or central delay. We know in the reflex arc of the reflex action, there is at least one synapse, maybe more than one synapse, but at least one synapse is present. The nerve impulse is transmitted through this synapse, and this is responsible for the synaptic delay. Synaptic delay is the time taken by the nerve impulse to pass through the synapse. You know, different types of synapses, reflexes depending upon number of synapses in the center of the reflex, monosynaptic, disynaptic, and then multi or polysynaptic. At each synapse, there is a delay of 0.5 milliseconds. At each synapse, there is a delay of 0.5 milliseconds. And by synaptic delay or central delay, we can find out whether this reflex is monosynaptic, disynaptic, or multisynaptic. So by determining the synaptic delay or central delay, we can find out whether the reflex is monosynaptic, disynaptic, or multisynaptic. You see the formula that synaptic delay or central delay is equal to reaction time minus peripheral time What is reaction time? Reaction time is the time between the application of the stimulus and appearance of the response. You apply the stimulus, in how much time the response or reaction comes, that is the reaction time. Right? So synaptic delay or central delay is equal to reaction time minus peripheral time. Peripheral time is the time taken by the nerve impulse to be conducted along the afferent and efferent fiber. So time taken by the nerve impulse to be conducted, to be transmitted along the afferent or the efferent fibers. Right? So you find out the central delay or synaptic delay, and then you can say whether this reflex is monosynaptic, disynaptic, or multisynaptic. And keep in mind, at one synapse, there is a synaptic delay of 0.5 millisecond. So suppose central delay is 1 millisecond. It means this reflex is disynaptic, having two synapses in the center of the reflex arc. If synaptic delay is more than 1.5 millisecond, it means it is a multisynaptic or polysynaptic reflex. The next property of synaptic transmission is fatigue of the synaptic transmission. Fatigue of the synaptic transmission, or fatigue of the reflex action. Now, if some reflex is elicited repeatedly, if some reflex is elicited repeatedly, after some time, response decreases. So you repeat a reflex repeatedly, after some time, the response will decrease. And this is due to the fatigue of the synaptic transmission. Fatigue of the synaptic transmission. The other property of synaptic, this reflex action is occlusion. Occlusion. Occlusion is when the response of the postsynaptic neuron or motor neuron is less than expected. Less than expected. So occlusion is when the response of the motor neuron or the postsynaptic neuron is less than expected. So response is less than expected. You see afferent A and afferent B. Afferent A and afferent B. Now afferent A is making synapse with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 motor neurons. You can see that afferent A is forming synapse with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 motor neurons. Now when one motor neuron is completely excited, a tension of 1G, when one neuron is completely excited, a tension of 1G, G capital, 1G is produced in the muscle. So when we excite the neurons of the afferent A, how much tension, muscle tension will be produced? 7G. Because 7 motor neurons are excited by the afferent A. So 7G is the muscle tension produced when you stimulate afferent A. Then we come to afferent B. Now afferent B is making synapse with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 motor neurons. Afferent B is making synapse with 5 motor neurons. You see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 motor neurons. So if you stimulate afferent B, how much will be the muscle tension produced? 5G. 5G. Right? So you stimulate afferent B, muscle tension produced will be 5G. So you stimulate afferent A separately. How much muscle tension produced? 7G. You stimulate afferent B separately. Tension produced will be 5G. So 7G, you stimulate afferent A separately, and 5G when you stimulate afferent B separately. Now when you stimulate both afferents A and B simultaneously, when you stimulate both afferents A and B simultaneously, the muscle tension produced is 11G. It is 10G. You stimulate both the afferent simultaneously. So separately 7G by afferent A, 5G by afferent B. When you stimulate both the afferents A and B simultaneously, the muscle tension produced will be 10G. 10G. What was you expecting? 12G. 7 by A, 5 by B afferent. You were expecting 12G muscle tension. But the muscle tension produced actually, you see, will be 10G. It is not 12G. 10G, it is not 12G. This is called occlusion, when the response is less than expected. Response expected was 12G and response produced was 10G. This is called occlusion. Occlusion. What is the mechanism or cause of occlusion? Mechanism or cause of occlusion is that there is partial overlapping of motor neurons supplied by the afferents A and B. Partial overlapping of motor neurons supplied by the afferents A and afferent B. You see, two motor neurons are shared by both the afferents A and B. Two motor neurons, you see, are shared by both the afferents. Or you say, two motor neurons are common to the two afferents. So two motor neurons are shared by the two afferents, or two motor neurons are common to the two afferents. And this results into occlusion. So the cause or mechanism is partial overlapping of motor neurons supplied by the afferents A and B. Two motor neurons are common or shared by the two afferents A and B. So this is called occlusion. Occlusion. Next property of this reflex action is facilitation. Facilitation. What is facilitation? When the response of the motor neurons or postsynaptic neuron is more than expected. When the response of the motor neurons or postsynaptic neuron is more than expected, it is called facilitation. Facilitation. We again consider the two afferents. Right? You see, afferent A is making synapse with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7 motor neurons. But here you see that when you stimulate afferent A, 5 neurons, 5 motor neurons are completely excited. And these 5 motor neurons which are completely excited, these are called the discharge zone or excited zone. Discharged or excited zone. You can also see 2 motor neurons also supplied by the afferent A. But these 2 motor neurons are not completely excited. These don't discharge. So these 2 motor neurons don't discharge. These are not completely excited, not fully excited. So these motor neurons are called neurons in the subliminal fringe. Subliminal fringe. Right? So afferent A supplies 2 types of motor neurons. Neurons of the discharge zone, excited zone. These are 5 motor neurons. When you stimulate afferent A, How much will be the muscle tension produced? 5G. 5G, because these 5 motor neurons are completely excited. And these 2 are not completely excited, because these are in the subliminal fringe. These are in the subliminal fringe. You come to F and B. F and B. F and B is making synapse with these 4 motor neurons, which are in the discharge zone, excited zone. F and B is also forming synapse with these 2 motor neurons in the subliminal fringe. So F and B is also forming synapse with the motor neurons, 2 in number, which are in the subliminal fringe. Subliminal fringe. So when we stimulate F and B separately, how much will be the muscle tension produced? 4G. 1, 2, 3, 4. You stimulate F and A separately, muscle tension produced will be 5G. You stimulate F and B separately, muscle tension will be 4G. 4G, 5G by F and A and 4G by F and B. When you stimulate these 2 efferents A and B simultaneously, the muscle tension produced will be 11G. It will be 11G. What was expected? 9G. So muscle tension produced expected was 9G when these 2 efferents are stimulated simultaneously. But we see that the muscle tension produced will be not 9G, more than expected 11G. 11G. Why 11G? Expected was 9G muscle tension. Muscle tension produced will be 11G. Reason is partial overlapping of the motor neurons in the subliminal fringe of 2 efferents A and B. So overlapping of motor neurons of subliminal fringe of the 2 efferents A and B. Now when these 2 efferents A and B are stimulated simultaneously, because of simultaneous excitation of the motor neurons in subliminal fringe by 2 efferents A and B, there is summation. When these 2 efferents are stimulated simultaneously at the same time, there will be summation in these 2 motor neurons, and these will be excited. These will be excited. These neurons were in the subliminal fringe, and because of the simultaneous stimulation through both the efferents A and B, there is summation. There is summation in these motor neurons, and these become excited, these become discharged, and give rise to 2 gram, 2G muscle tension extra. So the muscle tension will be 11G, not 9G. 11G, not 9G, and this is called facilitation when the response is more than expected, and the mechanism of cause is shaving, overlapping of the motor neurons in the subliminal fringe of motor neurons of both the efferents. When these 2 efferents A and B are stimulated simultaneously, there is summation in the motor neurons of subliminal fringe, summation, and because summation, these 2 are also excited, and these 2G muscle tension is added to the total response, and the muscle tension produced will be 11G, not 9G, which is expected. So this is the property of facilitation. facilities. Our next property of the reflex action is recruitment and after discharge. Recruitment and after discharge. Recruitment and after discharge. What is recruitment? Recruitment is more and more motor neurons become involved in the process of excitation. More and more motor neurons become involved in the process of excitation. More and more motor neurons become involved in the process of excitation. You give a threshold stimulus to the motor nerve supplying the muscle. You apply a threshold stimulus to the motor neuron or nerve supplying the muscle. There will be muscle tension. You increase the intensity of stimulus. More and more motor nerve fibers are excited, so more and more will be muscle tension. More and more will be muscle tension when you increase the intensity of the stimulus. This is called recruitment, right? So you start with the threshold stimulus. Some motor nerve fibers are excited, so some muscle fibers will be contracted. You increase the intensity of stimulus, more motor nerve fibers will be excited, so more will be muscle tension developed. And this is called recruitment. Recruitment. What is after discharge? Other properties after discharge. After discharge. After discharge is that discharge of impulses from the postsynaptic neuron continues even after the stoppage of the stimulus. So impulse discharge from the postsynaptic neuron continues even after the stoppage of the stimulus. So you stop stimulation, discharge of impulses from the postsynaptic neuron or motor neuron, it continues. This is the sensory nerve fiber, afferent. You stimulate this sensory nerve fiber, afferent nerve fiber. And this afferent nerve fiber will be forming synapse with the interneurons and then finally with the motor neurons. Motor neurons. You stop the stimulation of the afferent nerve fiber. Discharge of impulses from the motor neuron, it continues. This is called after discharge. After discharge. After discharge is because of the delay path or longer path. So after discharge is because of the delay path or longer path. You concentrate. This afferent nerve fiber is making synapse with these interneurons. You see, in this pathway 1, 2, 3 interneurons, in this 1, 2, 3, 4 interneurons. Now when nerve impulse reaches the center of reflex arc, it is transmitted along these pathways. First to reach the motor neuron will be the nerve impulse coming along the pathway having 1, 2, 3 interneurons. And then nerve impulse reach motor neuron along the pathway having 4 interneurons, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you stop stimulation because of delay path or longer path, nerve impulse will reach the motor neuron after some time. and this is called after discharge. So after discharge, one of the mechanism is the long path or delay path. The other mechanism is reverberating circuits. Reverberating circuit. So nerve impulse is coming along this pathway. It is turned back. It is turned back and again comes along this pathway. So because of the reverberating pathway, they will be after discharge. So after discharge is because of two mechanisms. One is the delay path, a long path, and other is the reverberating circuit. Reverberating circuit, you see, nerve impulse coming on this pathway is turned back, then again comes along this same pathway. And this is the reverberating circuit or pathway which gives rise to after discharge. So this was about the property, recruitment and after discharge. Next property is of reflex action is irradiation. Irradiation. And that is excitation separates from motor neurons of one muscle to the motor neurons of other muscles. So excitation separates from motor neurons of one muscle to the motor neurons of the other muscle. This man is walking barefooted. A pointed object is on the ground. This is a painful stimulus. His foot strikes the painful object. And foot, our leg is withdrawn, is flexed and withdrawn. Right? So the foot touches the painful stimulus or object, and the foot and leg is flexed and withdrawn. Right? So this flexion or withdrawal, it depends upon the intensity of stimulus. The extent of the flexion and withdrawal of the foot and leg, it depends upon the intensity of the stimulus. If stimulus is not so strong, only foot is flexed. If intensity of stimulus is strong, then the whole leg is flexed. Right? So the response depends upon the intensity of stimulus. If not much intensity, only foot is flexed and withdrawn. If it is a stronger stimulus, very painful stimulus, the whole leg is flexed and withdrawn. And this is because of irradiation. Irradiation, that is excitation separates from motor neurons of one muscle to the motor neurons of the other muscle. So excitation separates from motor neurons of one muscle to the motor neurons of the other muscle. This is called irradiation. It depends upon the intensity of the stimulus. The other property of the reflex action is reciprocal inhibition and reciprocal innervation. Reciprocal inhibition and reciprocal innervation. We know for a reflex action, when agonists contract, antagonists must relax. So when agonists contract, antagonists must relax. And this is called reciprocal inhibition. So I repeat that for a smooth action, smooth reflex action, when agonists contract, antagonists must relax. And this is through reciprocal inhibition that occurs through reciprocal innervation. Now I come to same example that the foot touches a painful object and the foot and leg is flexed and withdrawn. You see, let us say right foot of the man touches the painful object. Right foot of the man touches the painful object. So on the right side, motor neurons of flexors are excited, while the motor neurons of extensors are inhibited. So in the right leg, motor neurons of the flexors are excited, and those of the extensors are inhibited. And this is through reciprocal inhibition and reciprocal innervation. Now what about the other side? Left side. On the left side, extensors are excited and flexors are inhibited. On the left leg, the extensors are excited while the flexors are inhibited. Again, it is through reciprocal inhibition that occurs through reciprocal innervation. So this is the property of reciprocal inhibition that occurs through reciprocal innervation. So this was about the properties of the reflex action. I classified reflexes depending upon the number of synapses in the center into monosynaptic, disynaptic, and then multisynaptic. Now let's start discussion on a monosynaptic reflex. Monosynaptic reflex, and that is stretch reflex. So stretch reflex is monosynaptic reflex. So don't forget, stretch reflex is monosynaptic reflex. Stretch reflex is monosynaptic reflex. What is stretch reflex? When stretch is applied to the skeletal muscle. When stretch is applied to skeletal muscle, it contracts. It contracts. So when we discuss a reflex, we mention its stimulus. We mention the receptors involved. We mention the response. And we also include the reflex arc. Now in the stretch reflex, when stretch is applied to skeletal muscle, the muscle contracts. So what is the stimulus? Stimulus is stretch. And stretch means increase in the length of the muscle. Stretch means increase in the length of the muscle. So stimulus is stretch, and that is increase in the length of the muscle. And what is the response? Muscle contraction. Muscle contraction. And what are the receptors involved in the stretch reflex? The receptors involved are the muscle spindles. So muscle spindles are the receptors for the stretch reflex. Muscle spindles are the receptors for the stretch reflex. Keep in mind, in the clinical examination, we always test tendon jerks. Tendon jerks. Say biceps, triceps, ankle, knee, supinator. These are the tendon jerks. And keep in mind, these are actually stretch reflex. So clinically tested tendon jerks are the types of stretch reflex. Stretch reflex. I give you example of the knee jerk. This is a tendon jerk, which is a stretch reflex. Now in the knee jerk, you have performed this practical in the laboratory. In the knee jerk, with the patellar hammer, you strike the patellar tendon of the quadriceps. So you strike the patellar tendon or tendon of quadriceps, and you see the leg moves forward like a jerk. The leg moves forward like a jerk. This is the knee jerk. So when you apply a strike with the patellar tendon, there is stretching of the quadriceps. There is stretching of the quadriceps. Muscle spindles are excited. Impulses go to the spinal cord to stimulate alpha motor neurons, and then come back impulses along the alpha efferent nerve fibers to the muscles. The quadriceps contract and leg moves forward like a jerk. This is the knee jerk, which is the example of the stretch reflex. And the receptors involved, I told you, are the muscle spindles. So muscle spindles are the receptors for the stretch reflex. Muscle spindles are present in the muscle, the skeletal muscle, between the muscle fibers. Between the muscle fibers, muscle spindles are present. Their long axis is along the long axis of the muscle fiber. So long axis of the muscle spindles is along the long axis of the muscle fiber. Ends of the muscle spindles are fused with the sides of the muscle fibers. Ends of the muscle spindles are fused with the sides of the muscle fibers. So what will be the significance? That the ends of the muscle spindles are fused with the sides of the muscle fiber. Now whenever a change occurs in the length of the muscle fiber, similar change occurs in the muscle spindle. So whenever a change occurs in the length of the muscle fiber, similar change occurs in the length of the muscle spindle. So muscle fibers will increase in the length, they will be increased in the length of the muscle spindle, and so on. Muscle spindles, which are present in the skeletal muscle, and their number is more. Their number is more in muscles involved in fine skilled movements. Their number is more in muscles involved in fine skilled movement. Right? Their length is 3 to 10 millimeter. So length of the muscle spindle is 3 to 10 millimeter. Muscle spindles are encapsulated. These are encapsulated, right? And inside the muscle spindle, there are small modified muscle fibers which are called intrafusal fibers. What are these intrafusal fibers? These are small modified muscle fibers present in the muscle spindle, and these are called intrafusal fibers. Intrafusal fibers. So don't confuse these with the muscle fiber, which are extrafusal. Inside each muscle spindle, there are small modified muscle fibers called the intrafusal fibers. There are 4 to 12 intrafusal fibers. So 4 to 12 intrafusal fibers are present. There are two types of intrafusal fibers. So two types of intrafusal fibers: nuclear bag fibers and nuclear chain fibers. So nuclear bag fibers and nuclear chain fibers, these are the types of the intrafusal fiber. So nuclear bag fiber and nuclear chain fiber. In each muscle spindle, 1 to 3 in number are the nuclear bag fibers, and 3 to 9 in number are the nuclear chain fibers. So 1 to 3 nuclear bag fibers and 3 to 9 nuclear chain fibers. You see, in nuclear bag fibers, the nuclei are present in a central dilated portion. And you see, nuclei are present in a central dilated portion, you see, and this is the nuclear bag fibers. The second type of the intrafusal fibers is nuclear chain fibers. Nuclear chain fibers are smaller, and these are attached to the sides of nuclear bag fibers. So nuclear chain fibers are smaller, and their ends are attached to the sides of the nuclear bag fibers. In nuclear chain fibers, you see, nuclei are present in the form of a chain throughout the length of the intrafusal fiber. So in nuclear chain fibers, nuclei are present in the form of chain throughout the length of the intrafusal fiber. So nuclear bag fiber, nuclei are present in the central dilated portion, and nuclear chain fiber, nuclei are present in the form of chain throughout the length of the intrafusal fiber. Now in the intrafusal fibers, the end portions contain actin and myosin filaments. Right? So in the intrafusal fibers, the end portions contain the actin and myosin filament. Actin-myosin filaments. So end portions are contractile. You see, end portions you see contain actin and myosin filaments. So end portions are contractile. In the central portion of the intrafusal fibers, there is no actin and myosin. So no actin-myosin in the center portion, right? So center portion doesn't contain actin-myosin filament, which is non-contractile. End portions are contractile. Center portion is without the contractile element, actin and myosin filament, right? So we stop here, we continue tomorrow.